is Port Phillip Bay and it is an absolutely magnificent day. We've just come out of Patterson River at Carrum. This is Jared Day, and Jared, just explain, we're at work at my Tackle World store yesterday. You had the big frown on the face, what was going on?
Bit disappointed. We're in the height of snapper season and I can't go fishing.
Why
it's
not,
as simple as that. Oh, I blew up my car.
So his poor wife Angie and the kids been driving me to work every morning, and I feel his frustration. He can't get out. So being the good bloke I am, mate, I rang you and said, do you want to come fishing?
Exactly, and I jumped at the opportunity, said I would, and I'm down here.
Sensational. There's a few fish about. I win Boss of the Year award, don't I?
Yeah, you love it.
I have to, because if not, he's going back to the pier. We're going to head out in the bay, catch a few fish. It is damn hot. Let's hope the fishing's just the same. Just checking the tide chart, we've got a low tide today at 2 o'clock. Now, because there's very little current in Port Phillip Bay, you'll actually find the boat will sit with the wind, not the tide. In a perfect scenario, we want the wind and the tide in the same direction, which means all our lines sit beautifully. And if things do get a bit quiet, the tide changes the time when you're most likely to get a snapper. Magnificent day. I actually feel like I'm in Queensland. Bit of humidity. Let's hope the fishing is 11 out of 10, because there's days like this, you just love to be on the water. You can see this is the Patterson River, and on the Lowrance HTS 10 you can see that that's my track I went out on last trip. Went out here to 20 metres, went across here to one of my favourite marks, that little house, and then back home. That's my boat today, and as you can see we're about 1 kilometre from the house, and that's where I've been catching fish. On this side is my high def sounder. You can see we're in about 20 metres of water, 19.2. Water temp's also 19.2. I'm going to look for a snapper. I'm going to show you what one looks like. Oh, here's a school of bait coming through right now.
A simple device, a snapper marker buoy. A buoy, some line, and of course a sinker to anchor it. Basically what happens, Paul sounds some fish on the sounder, then we throw this over the side. The sinker unravels from the buoy all the way down to the bottom, anchoring it, and the buoy floats on the surface. That way Paul can then anchor the boat from where the buoy is, within casting distance. We know there's snapper there. A perfect little device to find snapper in Port Phillip Bay.
That is a snapper on the bottom of Port Phillip Bay. There's some bait. I like our chances. Go, Jez.
Rightio.
First thing I do when I get to a spot in Port Phillip Bay is just get a heap of pilchard cubes out. Every time I go fishing, I keep the old bait. That's it there. And then get it out there. Just get the burley going, get the fish going, and then wash the hands, because it's not a pretty look. Just a good bit of weight. And now I seem to have lost those characteristic head shakes, but the water is so clear here. Oh, look at that, right down there. That's why I'm not getting big head shakes. Look at that gummy shark just cruising up. Isn't that pretty? Wow, and when you get out in the deep water here, at what they call on the mud in Port Phillip Bay, you do pick up the odd gummy shark. This is just a pup. They do get them to 25, even 30 kilos. And they, Jared, are the fish that I would love to catch when I'm out fishing with my boy Jet, because he would just love to play with a gummy shark.
Mate, they are absolutely marvellous, even at this size. You can just pop the hook out there.
Going well, went well. Now a gummy shark, if you happen to live in Victoria, you love gummies. Just watch it, that second hook's in my finger. If you live in Victoria, South Australia, you actually eat gummies and love them. People up north think we're crazy. And they're actually measured, when you check your fish lengths, they're actually measured with what's called a minimum partial length. And that measurement starts at the back of the tail there and finishes just before that 5th gill slit. So that's where you measure a gummy shark. I know a lot of people, Jared, they measure them head to tail.
They do.
And then they get in a bit of trouble.
Exactly right.
So, the snapper aren't here yet. I think it's fair to say it's warm enough.
I think we might get some more burley in the water.
Absolutely, gummy shark's going back, but it's a start. Off you go, mate.
Just going to go through the simple procedure of baiting for Port Phillip Bay snapper. We use unweighted baits here, and by that I mean no sinker, just a bait and a set of hooks. So basically I'm running 40-pound leader, a running hook which is a 5/0, and of course a 5/0 fixed hook. So I take my silver whiting or pilchard, sowie, whatever whole bait you're going to use, and I insert the hook through the middle of the body and bring it right through the opposite side, all the way through. I then take my hook, insert it into the top of the head of the bait, and rotate it through the brain cavity and back up through the top. That gives it a good anchor point where it's not going to fold over. Pull my line tight and take my second running hook, inserting it just before the end of the tail through the skin, and rotate it all the way through so the eye of the hook meets the knuckle of the tail. 2 half hitches around the tail and the eye of the hook. Pull tight to secure. 2. And there we have a perfectly presented silver whiting with maximum hook exposure so we can catch those fish.
Oh yes! Gotcha! How good is that? Well, persistence pays off, and also having a few friends in the game. Matt Senior runs a mob called Real Time Charters. I was about 1 kilometre inside him. Matt got on the radio and said, Paul, you need to come over here. There are snapper everywhere. Now, this is not a big fish. We're fishing on the mud, 22 metres of water. Matt's Burley is actually coming in our direction. And I found him because a very big ship went past. And that big ship had some letters on the side of it. He said, Paul, follow that and you'll find us. And here comes our snapper. It is just a pup. That is the smallest snapper I've caught in Port Phillip Bay this season, but to give you an indication of just how many fish there are here, because fish of this size are in schools of thousands upon thousands. Now, don't spike me, mate, I'm going to let you go. That is a beautiful Port Phillip Bay snapper. And where there's one, there's guaranteed to be more. For snapper fishing in Port Phillip Bay, I love to use the little Shimano 3500 bait runners. I've matched them with Shimano IFISH Port Phillip Bay rods, specifically designed by Shimano for fishing for snapper in the bay, and 15-pound Maxima Perfection line. It is just a beautiful thing. The lever on the back here, push that in, and when you do, you've got free spool. Line comes off nice and free. You can see the line coming off because I'm doing it nice and slow. And then you wind the handle, bang, and suddenly, whack, the fish is hooked, you got strike drag. Today we've been fishing open bail, also fishing closed bail so the fish hook themselves, but it's lovely to have the bait runner option there, just in case you need it. Well, you wouldn't believe it, I just said to my beautiful crew, what do we do? They said, 10 more minutes. Jared had a hit on that rod there, it just buckled right over. Hey, here's a nice fish coming up here.
Yeah?
Look at this. He's a better fish. And the old instinct rig does the job. You were laughing at me earlier, Jezebel, but I told you, they come good, don't they?
You did, mate, you did.
Look at that.
Now, Paul, would you like me to grab the net for you?
I tell you what I could do without the net, mate. I'm just cruising at the moment. He's fairly well hooked. Come on, baby. I'll just lift him in like that. Come on, mate. That is a cracker fish. And you'll see all that feather and tinsel hanging out of his gob. That's that instinct rig I was telling you about. Just sensational. And just going to put him down for a sec, because I reckon I've got a second snapper here. Jez.
Yes, mate.
I need some help, my friend.
All right.
You're a good man.
That's all right. I'll take your second offering. So
Oh, look at that.
no shame at all.
Now, I just... Ooh, and that rod's going too. Look at this rod here loading. Watch out in water.
And there's one over there, I think. You've taken me back to that place called Wrongtown, Paul.
It is a little place just south of Crown. Oh, and that's oh, hang on. I'm getting excited now. And no, if you're going to ask the question, oh, there was a fish there too, I think. Jared's mum dressed us both today. We got the nice blue Crocs. Christy's going to kill me. The nice tackle world shirts, mate. It's going hard. I know what's happened to you. A seal's got your snapper.
I just saw him come up.
There he is, look at him. And that is what happens. Because there's plenty of snapper here, there's seals here too, Jez. Can you see him out the back?
I can.
Maybe just keep that seal out the back so I can land my fish, mate.
Oh, no worries.
See, this is what you have staff for. My mum always said, never have a dog, hi Otto, and bark yourself. So I let you have my fish, You go over there in the corner, look after Sammy the seal. Off you go, mate.
Can I just say, I just saw the size of that snapper come away from that seal, and I'm so disappointed.
Oh, hang on, he's got this one too. What's going on here?
Look at the size of that fish.
It's wrong, mate. It is organised chaos of the organised variety. And Jared, you're a good staff member and a good friend.
Thank you. Anything I can do to help?
So much the friend. Oh, did you hear me, mate?
Oh.
And here's my fish, and he's spitting up our Burley, mate. I'm going to get him away before the seal gets him. And that is another snapper. And I think it's fair to say we're on a fairly hot bite. And Jared,
Yes, mate.
you are not going to beat the seal.
No, that's exactly right.
But I'll say one thing. When it comes to being a good staff member at Tackle World Cranbourne, I give you the seal of approval.
Oh.
Okay, another beautiful snapper. We just love them. They keep Victorian's fishing industry alive, and off he goes, he's keen as mustard. Gone! That fish is still on the snatcher. Jared, you're still in the seal. Oh, look, he's actually winning! It's like a skip bait for Marlon. Hang on. Go, Jared, go! No. Come on, seal! Yeah!
It's not gonna happen.
What do the people in the next boat think? I think you would believe me if I lied rather than told the truth about what just took place. The seal finally broke off. Just as our tape ran out, I picked up a rod, hooked another snapper, went around the front. It fell off. By the time the boys got a tape back in the camera, we had hardly any baits in the water. I cast this out, Jez, and when it hit the water, the line just kept going.
And it's still going.
It's still going. We have a hot snapper bite here, and we've just persisted for hours and hours. Got the Burley going, and that last fish I brought up, Jared, the Burley he spat out was insane.
Definitely.
Now, if you can do me a favour and whack a pilly on that and get it out, because it's so important just to keep baits in the water. If you've got baits in the water, Burley in the water, you can actually hold a school of fish at the boat for a while, but if you sort of lose that momentum, they might go to the next boat, round the Burley pot. It's actually getting quite busy out here now, so there's a bit of chop on the water. People have obviously knocked off work. You can hear a boat in the background. And it is snapper fever in Melbourne. Everyone's getting on the bandwagon, and I still have that beautiful fish sitting down there on the snapper snatcher looking after itself. And that's probably a great indication to anglers around the globe that you don't have to rush. You can take your time. That fish is just swimming there beautifully. You don't have to get that big fish in the boat all that quick. 9 times out of 10, they won't fall off. And there's another beautiful Port Phillip red coming up. They're not big fish. I can see this fish took a silver whiting, so I can actually see the tail hanging off there. I'll just lift him in because he's beautifully hooked in the corner of the jaw. And how's the colours of that fish? Had a nibble on the snapper snatcher. Yeah. Just had a... Oh! Jared?
And that one's
hang
loaded.
Hang on. And there's a fish on there too.
Doesn't get better with a double hookup, does it?
How good's that? Well, I was just saying, we saw my mate... Oh, this is a nice fish, this one. We saw my mate Matt Sini hooked up there. Jared, you got a small fish on that snapper snatcher. I was seeing the bite. And as I went to grab that, this just took off. And this is what snapper fishing's all about. We've been out for about 4 hours now. You won't have seen all that, but it's been nice little fish in it, mate.
Beautiful little fish.
Now, he's legal, isn't he?
He is legal.
Can we keep him for my dad? Because my dad is 70, mate, and he'll love to eat that. If we get a big one, we'll let it go.
Definitely. We've got another one.
There you go, mate. Okay. I'm not actually getting head shakes off my fish.
Well, I am.
You are? But I've got a light outfit, and this is one of these new Shimano bait runners. They're absolutely beautiful. This is the 4000D. They were just released this year. I was lucky enough to get the very first sample in the country to give it a go. And Jared?
Yes.
I'm impressed. Here's your fish, Jez.
He's not a bad fish.
He's a good sized big one. Look at that. And that's what you just love as a Victorian, seeing that snapper come up through the water column. He's giving you a bit of curry, and there's the net mysteriously appears.
He's not a bad fish.
Oh, he's a good one, mate. Now, you got to wait till the fish is spent. So when he comes to the top, I'll just slip him in there.
And we've got a tangle.
Oh, I'll just slip him in there. There you go, Jess.
It's all about teamwork, isn't it?
It is, and my fish is just coming up, so I'll just lift him over to you.
Thank you.
Just take your time. And there's another beautiful fish coming up here now. This rod and reel is much lighter, so it takes a little bit longer to get him up and enjoy him, but as you see the snapper break the surface, you just got to love Port Phillip Bay snapper. And this, I'm going to just give him a little lift. Come on, mate. There you go. That is what every Victorian gets absolutely excited over. Beautiful Port Phillip Bay snappies, probably only about 1.5 kilos. Jez, your fish is a bit bigger there?
Yeah, mate, it's always good to get one bigger than you.
Yeah, thanks very much.
I've done it.
Isn't that snapper fishing though? You sit here for hours, baiting, burling, doing whatever, and then bang, 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 mayhem.
It certainly doesn't get any better.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And the reason for this snapper is schooling fish. There's water all over the lens, I do apologise. So for now we will say hasta la vista, baby, and we'll be back very soon.
There's no head shakes.
Oh, there's something. Oh yes,
something
before
on there.
that was the only rod. Now we've actually tied it up a little bit. Oh yeah, there's weight
waking.
there. We did not have a bait in the water except this one, and you didn't see that the bail was open, and before it was just going dit, dit, dit. And I saw it and thought, oh, there could be a snapper there, and then I got all carried away and kept baiting up. But we've got every bait back in the water, got the fish back in the live tank. We're going to let them go later. I don't want to spook these fish here. And Jez, if you've pulled a snapper, as I would call a sleeper, then you've done very well, mate. Any head shakes?
Oh, just one or two, but...
And what about the fish?
Yeah. Look, it's comfortable to say that this would be a sleeper.
So when we say a sleeper, we mean you go to wind the line and there's just a fish sitting on the end of it.
Well, the reason I'm thinking this, Paul, is the actual weight.
Yeah, maybe you've hooked him in the pec fin or something again.
So basically, with all this line that this fish has taken out over the course of the 5 minutes I was sitting in the holder, I think it's actually up near the city. But,
Yeah, oh well, there's Matt, there's a big ship, there's the city, somewhere between the two. I'm going to get a net.
Oh, here he is. And he is a beautiful little sleeper. Didn't do too
Oh,
much.
what a pretty fish.
But have a look at that.
What a pretty fish, Jez. I'm actually just going to let him sit there for a minute. He's got another line tangled around him. That means out of that last little hit, we got 4 cracker snapper. Look at that baby. That's a nice fish, mate.
That is a beautiful little fish.
And he took a silver whiting, very important. I'm going to come back down to your level, Jez. I'm going to get off the esky. If you can just lift that fish up for me when he calms down. That's a bit better fish. You'll see it's important to check what the fish have been feeding on. That's a little bit of silver whiting tail. If you take the time to watch what's coming up, it might be worth putting an extra silver whiting on next time. That is just sensational.
Marvellous.
Jez, what is it about snapper that excites you now? I know you are, I can't call you a loser because that's nasty. You're crazy, and I admire you for it because I used to be like you, getting up at 3 every morning, you fish till 8, then you work till midnight, then you go out fishing again, your missus never sees you. What is it about snapper that drives you crazy?
I don't know, these red fish, they come around, they're here for a certain amount of time every year. My house is half an hour that way. I can get into the water and go and catch these and have line peeling off the spool, off the reel in no time. I think that's what it's all about.
I think that's the case, mate. And snapper are about as Melbourne as the Melbourne Cup in the grand final. It doesn't get a lot better, does it?
Not at all.
Snapper dapper do. Out of the live well, you see he's a very happy boy. Colours are good. He's had a chance to relax. And into the deep blue sea. Now the bag limit for snapper is 3 fish of this size per person in Victoria. We'll catch plenty today, I would imagine. I don't really need to keep that many because I've got a few at home. So we're going to let a few fish go because letting them go, seriously, is as much fun as catching them. Off you go, mate. And there he goes. Look at that. Because Port Phillip Bay is going to sit under my boat. I tell you what, I like the idea of snapper sitting under my boat. Because Port Phillip Bay on average is probably only about 12 metres deep, the deep water's 20. Most people fish 6 to 12 metres if they're fishing shallow. You can actually bring the fish up fairly slowly when you fight them. They don't get the bends, so you can let that fish go and you know he's going to go and happily spawn, which is why he came here in the first place. There'll be plenty of snappers to catch next season. That is quality. The water is so clear, mate, 22 metres. How far can you see those fish?
That is amazing.
How's that? We probably only really had 2 or 3 bites, but every time it was mayhem, fish going everywhere.
It was great, and even I'll lose a big fish to a big seal.
I give Jared Day the seal of approval. Now, Jared, are you going to go to the reject shop or one of those special shops and buy me one of those big gold badges that says Boss of the Year?
No.
That's a bit cruel. Tomorrow, you're bagging pippies, sweeping the back room and cleaning the dunnies at work.
I get to do the works. It's all good fun being out here, there's no doubt about it. And for anybody that wants to come out and experience snapper fishing on Port Phillip Bay at its finest, this is the time to do it.
It's sensational, and if you get a chance, go to jaredday.com because Jared is a journalist. He does a lot of work around the country and he does a pretty good job, but don't tell him I said so.
Thanks, mate.